Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. Good morning, good afternoon, good night to wherever you are in the world. The cruiserweight division is at a crossroads, and I think Jai Opetaia is being set up to lose. Some of this shit is beyond his control. Really unfortunate, man, to have so many moving pieces taking place. It's a few days before he's supposed to get in there with the very tough and durable Glanton. But he finds himself in the middle of boxing politics involving sanctioning bodies, promoters, and the rise of Zuffa boxing. Now, with the IBF enforcing their strict rules, now one thing about all the sanctioning bodies, the IBF, that's the one sanctioning body that for the most part tries to follow their own rules. But with them enforcing those strict rules that they have, Opetaia could be forced to choose between keeping his world title, the IBF strap, or pursuing the opportunity to become the first ever Zuffa cruiserweight champion. Now, right now, that may not mean anything, but, down the line, that may be a really big deal. At the same time, he's just days away from a very dangerous fight against Brandon Glanton, a hungry contender who may benefit from the chaos surrounding Opetaia's career decisions because Glanton doesn't have the drama around him like Opetaia does. Glanton's not a guy who has everything to lose. Opetaia does. And that's why I think we need to try to break this down and discuss the IBF ultimatum, which I think is bullshit. The risk to Opetaia's undisputed dream. Zuffa's growing influence in boxing, which I think is outstanding. And why Opetaia has been frustrated with Matchroom. Why fighters like Jaron Ennis could face the same dilemma. Why Brandon Glanton is a real threat in this fight. Now, first and foremost, I think we need to understand a few things here.
Eddie Hearn, he's not my mate. Like, we don't go hanging out and go to the pub together and, bro, it's fully professional. You know what I mean? Like, and it just shows, I've signed this super boxing to better myself, better my family, chase my dreams. How many times I make it clear how I wanted an undisputed, I'm chasing the belts, nothing happened, and then I signed with him and he's just nothing but bad, like just talking badly, trying to drag me through the mud, so it's crazy, he even wanted me to fight one of his fighters, like, what? Like, how does that make sense? You couldn't get me a title fight, but the second I leave, you wanted me to give your fighter a title fight.
Is your IBF World Cruiserweight title on the line on the week?
Now, that's Jai Opetaia letting us know what he experienced over there with Eddie Hearn and Matchroom and what he's feeling right now. So just think about that for a second. That time he spent over there with Matchroom, Jai Opetaia was never fully happy. And now he's with Zuffa Boxing. And he seems to be very happy where he's at. But then you understand the IBF's power and their consistency. And the IBF built a reputation for being the strictest sanctioning body in boxing. So it's a good thing, but a bad thing for Jai Opetaia right now. Unlike the WBC, WBA, and WBO, the IBF historically doesn't bend its rules. And when they decide to draw the line in the sand, they stick to it. There are a lot of examples, include stripping champions who fail to follow mandatory defenses. For Opetaia, this means something very, very serious. The IBF orders a mandatory defense and he chooses another route. The IBF will likely strip him of the title. That creates the central dilemma. Now, Opetaia has an undisputed dream. All of us who are Jai Opetaia fans and David Benavidez fans, we're sitting here like, man, he got a long-term goal to become undisputed cruiserweight champion. He's going to be able to hold all four belts simultaneously now that he's with Zuffa, and they're probably going to be able to get him to fights. Because, it's all about that money. But right now, the division is controlled by several champions, but two names really pop out, and that's Gilberto Ramirez and Jai Opetaia. The undisputed status is historically significant, and that's what Jai wants because it represents complete dominance over a division. For fighters, it's a legacy. For fans, it's clarity. But here's the issue, right? Here's the bullshit now. If Opetaia loses the IBF belt, the undisputed path becomes significantly harder. He may never get another chance to hold that belt again. And that's what's really unfortunate, because people are sitting here pointing stuff out about Jai Opetaia, like this right here. This is a picture of Jai Opetaia with the ring belt, but there's no IBF belt in this picture if you notice. They have the model there with the Zuffa belt, but you see there's no IBF belt. So this has people saying, damn, the IBF judge made his decision to go forward and fight with the Zuffa title. There will be no IBF strap on the line because he's had to relinquish it. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I don't know what direction things are going with that. But if that's true and he lost the IBF belt, that undisputed dream of his, it's not going to be possible. Because Jai's not going to choose a belt over being able to make millions of dollars and take care of his family. You understand? That's the other side of the equation. Zuffa Boxing. The company behind the UFC has begun exploring boxing again, with the help of Turki Al-Sheikh, who's funding it all. If Opetaia becomes the first Zuffa champion, he would be part of something historic. Right now, that title might not mean much, but imagine 10 years from now, Zuffa becomes a dominant promoter in boxing. The first champion could be remembered forever. It's the same way early champions of organizations become historically important. So Opetaia, Aussie, oi, is weighing two legacies. Traditional boxing history versus potential future history. But again, to me, it comes back to money versus legacy. There's another reality here, people, money. Zuffa's reportedly paying Opetaia very, very well. This is something many fighters struggle with. Do you chase the legacy, the belts, or financial security? Perfect world, you get all three. But it doesn't seem to be Jai's reality at this moment. But things may change. But at this moment, it doesn't seem to be his reality. For fighters who risk their lives in the ring, the answer is often simple. Take the money while you can. Boxing careers are short. One loss can change everything. And I agree with that. I really do. But it just takes me back to Jai Opetaia and the Eddie Hearn frustration. To know that he's had this frustration with Eddie Hearn in Matchroom for quite some time. Big fights never materializing. Eddie Hearn talking the talk, but not able to walk the walk and deliver. That's crazy. Despite being one of the most skilled cruiserweights in the world, Opetaia has struggled to secure the massive fights that elevate stars, and Eddie Hearn has a lot to do with that not happening. You see, you can listen to Opetaia and you can pick up that he wants unification fights, pay-per-view events, global exposure. So when those opportunities don't come, you can't blame these fighters for looking elsewhere. So Zuffa represents elsewhere. And he doesn't blame Conor Benn for exploring opportunities outside of the traditional boxing structures. Because Conor Benn is over there with Zuffa too. He got paid $15 million for one fight. So when you listen to a lot of the fighters who talk about Conor Benn and choosing not to work with Eddie Hearn, at least for the next fight, and to go get the money, the reasoning is just very simple, man. The fighters are like, look, if promoters or sanctioning bodies can't deliver big opportunities, fighters should create their own path. And this is something we've seen repeatedly throughout boxing history, and this is something that Jai Opetaia is doing for himself. And to be honest with you, when I listen to that, and the more I sit here and digest and mull over this whole political, dramatic Opetaia versus the IBF and Zuffa boxing and Eddie Hearn, quagmire, it just makes me think about Jerome Boots Ennis, another fighter who could face similar dilemma. One of the most talented fighters in the world, just like Jai Opetaia, but again, he's with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn's struggling to get him the massive fights he wants. If alternative promotions start offering huge money and big platforms, fighters like Ennis may face the same decision Opetaia is facing now, even though he just signed multi-year deal extension with Eddie Hearn. Is going to suck because Jerron Ennis, he's going on 30. Do you stay with the boxing traditional system, chasing Undisputed, chasing titles like Jai, but then they don't deliver, or do you jump to a new promotional structure? You see what I'm saying? So, I just think there's a very dangerous part of all of this story right here when it comes to Jai. Because all of this drama would be stressful under normal circumstances, right? But there's one problem. Because under normal circumstances, this shit would be stressful. But Jai has a fight coming up, so the circumstances are not normal. He's fighting Brandon Glanton. Brandon Glanton is a problem, people. And the more I think about Jai and all the shit going on, you can't help but assume that he's being somewhat affected. I'm not saying he's going to be affected to the point that he loses the fight, but he's going to be affected. Brandon Glanton is a real threat. He's not a tune-up. He's a hungry contender with power and aggression, and his style presents several dangers. He brings that pressure, pushes the pace, forces exchanges, has the ability that can change a fight instantly, and he's motivated, more motivated than ever. This is the biggest opportunity of his career. If he wins, he's a Zuffa boxing champion and will go on to make millions of dollars in his next fight, even if he loses the subsequent fight, but he's the champion. When fighters like Glanton get their moment, they become extremely dangerous, man. And that's why just trying to understand the distraction before a fight, it's one of the worst things a fighter can have before a big fight. It's just distraction, especially a mental distraction. And right now, Opetaia is dealing with that. Got this IBF pressure, which I think is crap. Zuffa negotiations, which probably stress, the good stress. But the promoter drama is not good. The media attention, sure he doesn't want to keep answering a bunch of questions about all the bull crap. But that's a lot. And then with Glanton, his mindset is simple, because just win the fight, because nobody's asking him anything. You know what I mean? Nobody's asking Glanton anything. So that psychological simplicity can become an advantage. But it's also a psychological edge. Glanton could enter this fight believing Opetaia is distracted. When challengers smell vulnerability, they become more confident. And confidence is dangerous in the sport of boxing. So Opetaia's got to do a few things to win this fight, in my opinion. The path to victory can be clear, but it's not clear at this moment. He has to get in there and every round start to clear out that path to victory, starting with controlling the distance. Because Jai is technically superior. He's got to stay disciplined, avoid wild exchanges, don't give Glanton what he wants. Use that jab, neutralize Glanton's pressure, move around, keep turning Glanton. Stay mentally focused. Don't worry about the outside noise. If he does these things, Jai Opetaia, I think just his skill and boxing ability alone would carry him to victory. He's got to be basically the Samoan Devin Haney. The half Aussie, half Samoan Devin Haney. What I mean by that is just box, put the rounds in the bank, and just get to the finish line with a win. And that's just my 2 cents. So we're talking big picture. The situation is bigger than one fight. It represents a shift in boxing power structure. Fighters are beginning to realize they have more leverage than ever before, and promoters and sanctioning bodies may not control the sport the way they once did. So if Opetaia wins, the conversation about his future becomes even louder. If Glanton pulls off the upset, everything changes. The belts, Zuffa plans, the undisputed dream, all of it, man. But that's the beauty and cruelty of boxing. Everything can change in one night. But I'm going to tell you right now, best of luck to both of these combatants. But I don't like how they're doing Jai Opetaia right now. He didn't do anything. He's collateral damage. It's messed up. It's just like we're in a war right now, and you have these missiles and drones that are being intercepted and blown out the sky. So boom, the threat is gone, but then the debris falls, and then it falls in some home or in some school or on some building or hotel, and then that catches fire, that gets destroyed. You know what I'm saying? It had nothing to do with the drone and missile that was fired and whatever was fired to intercept it. Two different entities there. They have their own shit going on. And then because of their drama in the sky, debris crashes to the earth, and the collateral damage is done because people are affected, infrastructures are affected. And that's kind of how it is with Jai Opetaia. He's that infrastructure on the ground that's just chilling, but you got the IBF and Zuffa boxing basically, going at it. There's a missile being fired by the IBF. Zuffa is trying to intercept it. They're doing what they can. Next thing you know, the fallout, boom, it hits Jai. He gets damaged. And now he got to go into the fight that way. So it's a huge risk for Jai Opetaia. Is the champ going to be distracted? I don't know. But we're going to find out. Y'all keep cool. I'm in the breeze.